Hey, thanks guys, and welcome to another Test Miles video. Now today we're in Sausalito, just north of San Francisco, with the brand new BMW 5 Series. This car looks very much like a BMW. It does all the things you'd expect from a 5 Series. It's the 7th generation, it's fast, it's lightweight, it's dynamic, it's a very fun to drive vehicle. But this vehicle is very different than things that BMW have done in the past. The technology inside it is a huge leap forward for them. And the idea of having this car in your garage excites me. We're going to put it on the road, we're going to test drive it, sort out some of that tech, plow our way through it, and tell you what we think of the brand new BMW 5 Series. All right, inside the car, and I'm with Vincent from Slash Gear. Vincent, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, as Nick said, I'm from Slash Gear. Tech automotive journalist, and I'm very lucky to be here as Nick's drive partner today.
I think we're probably just much luckier to be on the BMW 5 Series, which is a very exclusive event. It's being held in Northern California, so we flew into San Francisco. We stayed at Palo Alto last night and checked out the BMW Tech Center, and today we get to drive the car to Calistoga in Napa Valley. It's kind of a fun drive in and out of the large fir trees and really put the car to its test. This, to me, Vincent, you drove the first part of the drive. It's a BMW, right?
It is a BMW, very much so. Unlike your spirited driving right now, my portion was more highway. So I literally had...
Do you feel robbed?
I don't, because I'll get my chance tomorrow coming back, because I'm driving by myself tomorrow. But I felt really good letting the car drive for me.
Right.
That was the best part, and we had an engaging conversation during
Absolutely.
that drive.
The car is fairly autonomous, so obviously we're only at level 2. It has partial autonomy now because that's the only legal stage you can have in the US. But with this vehicle, if you put it into automatic cruise control, it reads the lines on the road, you can take your hands off the steering wheel. BMW like to use the terminology of only over 30 seconds. We did find out after a little bit of digging that you can actually take your hands off the wheel for about 50 seconds before the car will start signaling you and asking you to put your hands back on the wheel. But as far as driving is concerned, it's dynamic, it's everything you'd want a 5 Series to be. They've lightened this car up by over 170 pounds, and they've used aluminum in the doors, the hood, and the roof, but not carbon fiber. And that was an interesting question. Since they're so embedded in carbon fiber, they decided just to have aluminum.
Right.
And I think that was probably a good decision because they're trying to keep the carbon fiber for very specific cars like the 7 Series and the i3 and the i8, rather than sort of put it in everything as well.
And that keeps the price down too.
Yeah, absolutely. So the price of this is under $60,000 starting price. You can get it well over $60,000 if you stock it out. So let's talk about what we see on the inside here. 10.25 inch screen. Is that big enough? Was one of the questions we came up with today.
I think it's big enough for today's market. But if you look at 5-7 years down the road, it's going to be too small.
Do you think that they would be well advised to work on a larger screen?
Of course, and we know they are, based on the concept that we're seeing BMW introducing last CES and this CES, among other technologies they're introducing.
Right. Another interesting thing that Vince pointed out that I didn't realize is, even though it has a thin TFT screen where the gauges are, there are partial physical gauge portions, but there is no glass in front of it, so you can actually touch the TFT screen.
You can, which is kind of bizarre to see. And it does cut down the glare quite a bit, and it gives you an actual up-close view of what you're seeing.
Right, I mean, it's clearer. I feel it's a lot clearer. The other thing is, too, we noticed with the gauges that there is no stuttering.
Nope.
They're very immediate. I put my foot down, and the gauge is exactly where it is with the revs and with the odometer. It doesn't, some I would say less technologically advanced vehicles, the needle seems to sort of shudder a little bit as it moves up, but this looks totally smooth. It's really hard to tell that this is electronically generated.
Well, in 2017, we expect that.
Absolutely, you can't have a car that doesn't do that. So let's talk about the rest of the interior. Pretty much on the inside, exactly what you expect from a BMW. The interior looks like a BMW, has your preset buttons, everything is where you expect it to be. It has your iDrive, which has the scroll pad on top. And for the first time in this 7th generation of the 5 Series, they've introduced gesture control.
Which we've had some interesting experience with.
Yeah, I mean, the gesture control works sometimes, and we're not sure if we're doing something wrong or something right. But you should be able to do things like go through the menus. You should be able to zoom in, zoom out, and change the volume. One of the things that this vehicle does have, which is brand new and very cool, is it has tiles on the monitor. And those tiles, you can go through like you would on Windows 10 and choose different things on the tiles, but they're live tiles. So for instance, if one of the tiles has navigation in it, it's a live picture of the navigation, not just a JPEG.
Interesting enough, I tested the prototype version of this at CES, and while we were driving through Vegas, one of the live tile would tell you, hey, there's an interesting SeaWorld event going on right now, and it would tell you on one of those tiles.
Oh, so it sort of gave you a geographic, local information piece. Yeah, I like that idea. But what is really impressive about this car is the amount of tech that they've included. Now, they have included a lot of cell phone integration with the vehicle. So they have a new system in here, which is a parking system that uses algorithms and predictive algorithms. When you arrive at your destination, it can help you park. Mm-hmm. And this is something that I know a lot of companies have been working on. I didn't think it was ready for market yet. So when you come to your destination, it will show you the streets where you're likely to have parking available. It will show you parking garages that are likely to have open spaces. And it's a little predictive, so it's not always absolutely accurate. And they were very upfront and honest with us about that. But you should be able to find parking a lot easier. We haven't tested it. We haven't been in a situation to test it. But that sounds to me like a real-world problem-solving piece of software.
Correct, and I agree.
The other thing I like about it is they sort of have this fully integrated system with the BMW App Suite. So if I'm using Yelp and I find a situation where there's a restaurant I like, you can send that restaurant to the car through the BMW app. That way it'll have navigation to that restaurant. You can also use Amazon Alexa from the home to the car, so you can start the car, set the temperature car, that sort of thing. What other tech features really impressed you about this vehicle?
Well, first of all, the touch display. We didn't really touch on that. It's just easier to reach out and touch, right?
Right,
Obviously.
and immediate as well.
And immediate as well. One thing you brought up earlier, allowing you to customize the heating setting on the seats itself.
Right.
I haven't seen that done before.
Right.
That's really nice.
Also the camera situation with the car, where you can see around the car with all the cameras, and that's kind of cool. And then you can use the gesture control to change the camera.
Not only that, but if let's say your car is parked somewhere, and to Nick's point about it's very integrated with the mobile now. Let's say you're sitting in the restaurant, you sent your car off to valet, and you're worried about your car. You can flip your app on and kind of see what's going on around the parking spot.
That's the best thing about this car, the absolute creme de la creme. So just so you understand, you can monitor the cameras on your car from your cell phone from any distance. That can be a multiple security system. You can do things with that you could only imagine. I guess you could even park the car with nobody in it and spy on somebody. I mean, there's just like so
Only
many.
you would think of something like that.
Yes, of course. It's the insecurity I have. It's the just the amazing amount of tech that's deeply embedded in this car that I think is absolutely great. And that's just a touch on the surface. I mean, you can do things like write out stuff on top of the xDrive. It'll appear on the screen. I mean, there's 101 other applications, especially with the gesture control that this vehicle can do. Now, a lot of this we saw in the 7 Series, but a lot of the stuff is new, and especially this personal experience stuff where you can use your cell phone to do so much with the car. Is that happening, Vince? Because at Slash Gear, you look at technology a lot more than you do at automotive. Is that happening a lot more where cell phones are being integrated into systems?
That is correct. And that's happening a lot more than we know or care about. But the good thing about BMW is that they're doing more of that than any other automaker right now.
They were the first guys to do a deal with GoPro, where you could actually set GoPro up and run it from the navigation system inside the car, turn it on, turn it off, and do those sort of things, right?
Right. And BMW is so far ahead in the sense that they care more about your ride pleasure.
Right.
Rather than the mechanics of how to do.
Well, their tagline is the ultimate driving machine, so they're really about the ultimate driving machine. I noticed something that was interesting that was said this morning in one of the conferences that we were in, where BMW talked about they are not actually building a lot of the hardware and software themselves, because there are so many companies out there in the space of, for instance, autonomous driving. What they're doing is taking it, looking at it, breaking it apart, evaluating it, and see if they can make better use of new technology, new cameras, new software, and those type of things in their new vehicles. That, to me, is pretty exciting.
Well, that's smart, because they don't have to invest their own R&D money.
Right. And, you could have a small company that has exterior cameras that work with an autonomous driving car, where you don't have to have some big giant like BMW stealing all your ideas and making them. They'll work with you as a partner. I love that about this. So overall, the 5 Series, a solid core centerpiece of BMW's business, and the new 7th generation, I think, especially with the tech, lives out that BMW ideal of having the ultimate driving machine, but at the same time now loaded with tech.
Yep.
Perfect. If you want to watch more videos, just hit buttons and things and be nice to us.